Welcome back, everyone. We're continuing on with the Vimshottari Nakshatra Dasha course that I started a long time ago. And in this video we're going to be focusing on the 10th house, which deals primarily with status, livelihood, and action in the world. We have to remember, based on the previous videos in this series, that the influences as we discuss them, that whenever they come up by Dasha within your chart, then that is when they're going to be activated. So we have to remember that the Nakshatra Dasha course, the reason that this falls within the realm of that course is because there are particular combinations that we're going to speak to from Sarvarta Chintamani. And when they become activated by a planetary cycle, that is when you want to consider them coming into full force or play within your life. Now, first of all, the 10th house, status, livelihood, and action in the world. Now, there are many things that we have to look at in regards to career. It's not so simple as just looking at the 10th. We have to look at the second house, the things we're responsible for. We have to look at an individual's Atmakarika, Swamsha, influences to the 10th house, where the 10th Lord goes, where the second Lord goes. There's a lot that goes into reading career. And it's made even more complicated by the fact that since many of these astrological texts were written, there are probably hundreds of thousands of different kinds of careers and different kinds of things that you can be doing in any particular given career at a moment. So we have to be aware of this. So career is not the easiest thing to figure out in a chart, although we can find trends so that as a person is exploring their life and their direction, they can find those trends that are going to be more successful for them. Now, I do work a lot with businesses. I do work a lot with individuals who own businesses, whether they're hiring someone. I'll do compatibilities between the owner of the business and the potential employee. When it comes to partnerships, I do compatibility there as well. I also do a lot of timing of events for businesses, planning when to start a business, to sign papers, to start a new venture, and so on. So there are numerous things that we can look at for astrology to help guide us in reference to our capacity to have a successful business and have the most auspicious outcome possible in our work, our livelihood, and our status within the world. So astrology offers a lot in this regard. But anyway, let's get to Sarvarta Chintamani. And we're going to go over many of the combinations that Sarvarta Chintamani gives. And then within the second portion of this video, we'll pull up an example, probably just one, but we'll pull up an example to see how can we find these things? How can we see what's going to be given within a chart? And it has to add up, meaning a particular combination might say you have these three variables. Well, the more variables you have from that statement that Sarvarta Chintamani gives, the more likelihood that that's going to be a success for you, or a failure, if that's what the book is stating. But it's all going to be in shades of gray. There's going to be a little bit if you get a few of the variables correct. There's going to be more if you get more of the variables correct. So we have to keep all of this in mind. So let's begin. Sarvarta Chintamani. Actions, ruling power, fame, acts towards the public, honor, profession, the knees, living away are considered from the 10th house. So if we want to know about honor, profession, difficulty with the knees or strength of the knees, the actions that one takes in the world, a person's capacity or kind of fame, we're going to go ahead and look at the 10th house. Sarvarta Chintamani begins by saying that a weak 10th Lord, under the influence of cruel planets, you will often know them as malefic planets, can show frustrations in activity. The Lord of the 10th, Jupiter and Mercury, when these are strong, one will be engaged in serving others. These are very kind, sharing planets. They're interested in engaging serving others. So the Lord of the 10th, Jupiter and Mercury, and strong, this will make one engaged in service to others. This will also be true if Mercury is in the 10th, and the Lord of the 10th is in a gentle or benefic sign in the 9th house, without cruel influences and under the aspect of gentle planets. So you see, when we're reading these, there's going to be a list of possible things that you want to look for. And the more we have, the more variables we have stacking up based on what we've just read, the greater the capacity for this to give its fruits. So again, we consider Mercury, if it's in the 10th, and the Lord of the 10th is in a benefic or gentle sign, in the 9th house, without any cruel influences, and under the aspect of gentle planets, that helps to support one's career and success and activity in the world. And according to Sarvarta Chintamani, it'll give helpful careers, helpful influences. Next, these three planets, and what are the three planets? The Lord of the 10th, Jupiter and Mercury, aspected by gentle planets, or benefic planets, makes one helpful to public causes. If these are in the 6th, 8th, or 12th and badly aspected, there is absence of such help. So, the three planets discussed, aspected by gentle planets, helping the public. If they're in the 6th, 8th, and 12th, and badly aspected, there is absence of such help. So we have to keep that in mind, that the formula there is in the 6th, 8th, and 12th, and badly aspected. Because they can be in the 6th, 8th, or 12th, and you can be helpful to people in regards to 6th house causes, 8th house causes, and 12th house causes, right? These are all important things to remember. If the Lord of the 10th, or the Navamsha Lord of the 10th, is located in the 8th, one is devoid of the capacity to help the public. So here we find a fascinating thing that runs through Sarvarta Chintamani. So you can go back through all houses 1 through 9, which we've already explored, and you'll see this happen over and over again, where it's discussed that the Lord of the 10th, or the Navamsha Lord of the 10th, which means you find the 10th Lord in the birth chart, and you see where it goes in the Navamsha, and whatever house that planet is placed in the Navamsha, whatever sign, if the Lord of that sign is located in the 8th, one is devoid of helping the public. So that's what I love about Sarvarta Chintamani, how it reveals and unlocks all these intricate combinations between the birth chart and the Navamsha. And it even gets into other Vargas too, like the Drekana. Now let's move on. The Lord of the 10th, exalted, but with cruel planets, and occupying the Navamsha of its debilitation, and in the 8th, one meets with obstacles to work. This will also be true if the Lord of the 10th is in a cruel Shashtiamsha, or 60th division. Now let's review this. And do bear in mind that on my website, AshevilleVedicAstrology.com, when I post these videos, I also do a blog post that writes out all these things I'm going over, and more. So we're not going to be able to get through all of the 10th, in relationship to what's been studied in Sarvarta Chintamani. But if you want to read the text itself as I've been reviewing it, you can find it in a blog post at AshevilleVedicAstrology.com, specifically under the 10th house if you search for that. So once more, the Lord of the 10th exalted. So we have that 10th Lord and its sign of exaltation. But with a cruel planet, and occupying the Navamsha of debilitation. So here we have the Lord of the 10th is exalted, but it's in the sign with a cruel planet. But we look at that planet in the Navamsha and it's debilitated. And in the 8th, one meets with obstacles to work. This is also true if the Lord of the 10th is in a cruel Shashtiamsha. So the more we have these stacking up, the more obstacles we will see to a person's work, a person's capacity to find status and fame and consistency within the direction in life. We'll go through a few more before we jump into some examples here. If the Lord of the 10th house is a gentle planet, which you often know is benefic, a gentle planet, so the Lord of the 10th is a gentle planet, and under the aspect of gentle planets, or in the sign of a gentle Navamsha, remember gentle equals benefic, one gets power to rule. So 10th Lord as a benefic, under the aspect of a benefic, in the sign of benefic in the Navamsha, one gains power to rule. That one's pretty straightforward. Now, you can be a leader, but what kind of orders do you give? Do you give cruel orders, or do you give helpful orders? Well, in Sarvarta Chintamani, we get a description of how this is so, or how to figure it out. The Sun and Mars occupying the 10th house, and the 10th house Lord in an angle, one gives cruel orders. So the Sun and Mars occupying the 10th house, and that 10th house Lord is also in an angle, one gives cruel orders. Now we have to be cautious of this, because by giving cruel orders, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying, go chop off the arms of those thieves, although it's possible. Cruel orders can be any kind of work that just is hard work, telling people to do hard work. Not coercing, because hopefully if you're a leader and you're hiring someone and they're working for you, you're not coercing them. But you're giving them orders which they might find to be not necessarily easy things to do. So they're harder tasks when we think of cruel orders. If the Lord of the 10th is with Saturn and the 8th house Lord, and the 10th Lord is in a cruel Navamsha or in a Kendra, one also gives cruel orders. So let's break this down. The Lord of the 10th is with Saturn and the 8th house Lord. And the 10th Lord is in a cruel Navamsha, or the Navamsha of a malefic planet. Or in a Kendra, one also gives cruel orders. Now this will also be true if Rahu and Mandi are occupying the 10th house. Or Rahu or Ketu are in the 8th, and the 9th Lord is occupying a sign of debilitation. Now, this is all beautiful things, and I really hope that you're listening and paying attention. And I hope you're not being overwhelmed by what we're saying here, because as I've gone over many times with these videos, that these statements are there to give you ideas and examples, and they're also teaching you how to think like an astrologer. So if you sit with and you think about what has just been discussed, this will start to condition your awareness to relate similar kinds of influences. So when you see a chart and maybe Rahu and Mandi are not occupying the 10th, and Rahu and Ketu are not in the 8th, and the 9th Lord is not occupying the sign of debilitation, but maybe we get some cruel planets in the 10th, generally speaking, and maybe we get some more cruel planets in the 8th with the 10th Lord. And maybe the 9th Lord is in a great enemy sign. So it's not matching up exactly with what we've gone through here, but that in and of itself will help us to see difficulty with career, generally, but it can also show a person giving cruel orders or dealing with tough experiences or difficult things with their work, and inspiring others to do the same. Hence the idea of cruel orders. So remember, this is all about thinking like an astrologer, not necessarily memorizing it verbatim and hoping that eventually one day you're going to see the Lord of the 10th with Saturn and the 8th Lord, and the Lord of the 10th is in a cruel Navamsha or a Kendra. So we have to keep this in mind, that you may see it verbatim, but it's not likely. And these are just teaching you how to get a gist, an idea of how to assess career and so on. So to continue on, we'll do one or two more. All right. If the Lord of the 10th is in an angle and aspected by gentle planets, and in the 5th Shashtyamsha, the orders given are gentle. So again, we see, looking at other Vargas again, specifically the Shashtyamsha, the Lord of the 10th in an angle and aspected by gentle planets, and in the 5th Shashtyamsha, which is a benefic Shashtyamsha. If you look it up, I believe it says like celestial singer. That's like the indication for it. So it's a benefic, a gentle Shashtyamsha. This makes one give gentle orders. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to looking at some charts here as well, just to tie it all together. Okay, so to continue on, we have a chart here. I believe I can navigate this chart with that little video in the middle. We'll see how it goes. We'll look at a few other influences. Now, one of the things that the 10th can also describe are fame and status, and whether a person is going to be successful in their chosen field. Now, it's stated that the moon in Cancer, and aspected by Jupiter and Venus, and in many good Vargas, one gets fame. That fame increases if the Lord of the moon is with a benefic, or is lying between benefics, or is in the Navamsha of benefic. So here we have the moon in Cancer, aspected by Jupiter and Venus, and in many good Vargas, one gets fame. And that fame increases if the Lord of the Moon is with a benefic or is lying between benefics, or is in the Navamsha of a benefic. So here we have the Moon in Cancer, certainly. But is it aspected by Venus or Jupiter? Well, it's definitely not aspected by Jupiter, because Jupiter is way up here. Is the Moon aspected by Venus? Okay. Well, here's Venus. And Venus is actually aspecting this Moon to 47 points out of 60. Now again, you might be saying, well, how do we know it's aspecting at 47 points out of 60? Well, Parashara is very clear in his description of the Virupas, or point system you're supposed to use for aspects, not just the standard 7 houses away or the special aspects of Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn. So when we actually calculate it correctly, we will see that the Moon is being aspected by Venus. So that's going to add some to this person's fame and status. So the Moon in Cancer aspected by Jupiter and Venus and many good Vargas. Well, we would need to consider, how is the Moon doing in each Vargas? Let's see. Aspects, dignities, and Vargas. Well, the Moon is in own home, friend, 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 neutral, friend, friend, exalted, mula trikona, friend, friend, debilitated, own home, mula trikona, neutral. So through that little list that I just ran through very quickly, those were the snapshot look at the Moon in all the Vargas. And we can see that the Moon is actually doing very well in all of the Vargas, most of the Vargas, the 16 divisional charts. So we don't have Jupiter aspecting this Moon, but we do have Venus, and we do have the Moon in many good Vargas. So that would show that this is a person who's going to get much fame. Fame increases if the Lord of the Moon sign is with a benefic, or is lying between benefics, or is in the Navamsha of a benefic. Well, in this particular situation, well, the Lord of the Moon is the Moon. So the reason this statement is here, fame increases if the Lord of the Moon sign is with a benefic, or is lying between benefics, or is in the Navamsha of a benefic. That would be as a secondary factor. We would look to find what other sign the Moon might be in, and see if they do happen to be in a benefic situation. That would also support fame. Now, good fame also accrues if a benefic is the 10th Lord. So we have the 10th Lord as a benefic, and it's exalted, or in good dignity, in many good Vargas, and in a gentle Shashtiyamsha. Or if the 10th house Lord is benefic and located in the Navamsha of Leo with full strength. Now that's an interesting one. So the 10th house Lord is the Sun in this particular example chart that we've pulled up. So Lord of the 10th is the Sun. Is it with a benefic? It's with Mercury, but Mercury acts cruel when it's with a cruel planet, so he will be supporting the Sun because he does know what the Sun likes and he can fulfill that. Now, is it located in a good Shashtiyamsha? Well, it just so happens that, let's see here, the Sun is not in a good Shashtiyamsha, by dignity at least, and the Sun happens to fall in the Navamsha of Leo. However, it is hemmed in between Saturn and Mars, so this is a mixed bag here with this particular chart. But you can see how we're taking it step by step, following these basic recipes to see how is it adding up as we move forward to consider a person's fame. Now, a bad name in life can occur if the 10th Lord is devoid of strength and with or associated with cruel planets or in a cruel Shashtiyamsha. So a bad name in life can occur if the 10th Lord is devoid of strength and with or associated with cruel planets and in a cruel Shashtiyamsha. Now, this won't be true for this chart because we don't have Sun and Saturn mutually influencing each other to any great degree. But another thing to consider would be the combination of Sun and Saturn. If the Sun and Saturn occupy the 10th and are located in a cruel Navamsha, aspected by cruel planets, and in between cruel planets, one gets a bad reputation or none at all. And that's because Sun and Saturn can cancel each other out. They can make a person not feel like they're able to achieve their level of status, which encourages them to take action to avoid achieving their level of status. So it can be very frustrating when it comes to getting a good reputation. Again, Sun and Saturn occupying the 10th, located in a cruel Navamsha, aspected by cruel planets, and in between cruel planets. One gets a bad reputation or none at all. Now the main ideas that we want to follow and consider in relationship to the 10th deal with the position of the 10th Lord, aspects to the 10th house, aspects to the 10th Lord. So if there are supportive Rashi aspects to the 10th house, Rashi aspects to the 10th house, and you can explore that in more detail by downloading the Astrological Principles MP3 courses, again from AstroVedicAstrology.com. They'll get into the Rashi aspects. That'll show great support to career. You want to look at the situation of the 10th house Lord. That's going to be the activity that you take in career. Again, supported by benefics, supported by friends and good Vimshottari avashtas in good houses. It shows that you take powerful strides towards supporting your career, and that you will take actions which are in line with being successful in any given task. So we have to keep this in mind. Now, we would also look at influences from the 10th from the moon as well. So we could consider influences from the 10th from the moon, 10th from the ascendant, and those things that are stronger can show what's the person going to get involved with their career based on the planets influencing that position, as well as the sign itself is very important. So whichever is stronger can indicate livelihood. Now natural interests and tendencies, this is determined by influences on the ascendant Lord, as well as Rashi placements of the Atmakaraka. It'll give greater detail in regards to what is the mind interested in, what does it want to explore in this life. So the best thing about the chart is to show those natural proclivities that a person has, so that they can have great success within their dharma, which is personal, unique to them. Right? So unique to them, that's the key. So placement of an influence of the Atmakaraka within the Navamsha, important as well. Finding the 10th Bhava cusp and reading the chart from that cusp. This gives a greater understanding of the nature and quality of one's activity within the world. So also we got to find the 10th cusp and read the chart from the 10th cusp to see what is a person going to get involved with, what kind of activity, as well as how skillfully are they going to approach that activity, and how are they going to live in such a way that their life is in harmony with that activity to again support that career. So there's a lot to consider with the astrology of career, and these are just some ideas for you to start thinking about as you learn astrology, to give you insights on how to think about career and livelihood for those people's charts that you'll be reading. So thank you very much. Have a good day.